What's really good? Welcome back to another Friday night live of the Opinionated Ones as part of the Sanchez Show. As always, I'm your host, Eric Sanchez. Got my main man, Trip Young, with me. Will Gordon won't be in the building tonight, but I'm sure he'll be watching. But let's go around the horn, man. Let's start off. Trip, how you feeling today, bro?
Let me tilt my hat down somewhat. Can you see what's going on here? Can you
I can see what's going on. I can
can
see what's
you?
going on.
Okay, I think that should tell you how I'm feeling this week.
Okay, all right. So, well, I'm pretty sure we're gonna talk about the Ravens tonight because when we do
Mm-hmm.
picks later on tonight, I'm sure they're gonna come up in the conversation we have. For those of you that are tuning in for the first time, get familiar because this is how we do it. All right, we're gonna get into some NBA talk, we're gonna get into some NFL talk, and we damn sure gonna give you the picks for the week. We're gonna give you the 401k pick of the week, we're gonna give you the upset pick of the week. We're gonna get into all that. And then of course we answer any questions that come through. We appreciate anyone and everyone who's taking the time to rock with us on a Friday night. You could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, so we greatly appreciate that. With that being
Facts.
said, let's get into some things, Trip. It's a lot to get into, man. I know we got a lot for NFL Week 9 that we want to talk about, but there's a lot of NBA stuff that took place over the last couple of days that we have to address. We got to get into that.
Absolutely.
Let's start with, for you, the home team. I know you don't root for them per se, but it is the home team. They are Brooklyn, the Brooklyn Nets. Over the last 7 days. All right, just a quick timeline. Let me set the table, man. All right. Kyrie receives all the backlash for the tweet he put out about a particular documentary on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
He gets several opportunities to address it. And then we see Steve Nash get fired on Tuesday. There's rumors that Ime Udoka is going to be the new head coach. Kyrie gets another opportunity to address the claims about this documentary and whether he is anti-Semitic. Then we hear about the suspension yesterday. All this has taken place within a week's time frame, people. This started pretty much last Thursday up until today. Oh, actually last Saturday up until tonight, Friday. So, Trip, I've got to ask you, where do you want to start with the Nets? Is it with Nash or is it with Kyrie?
Let's start with Nash because the Kyrie issue is going to take us to a whole nother place. So let's start with the strictly basketball for right now. Um, yeah, it was already time. The time was before Nash was even hired. Realistically, I will say this, Eric, you have been very vocal, from the jump with that. But yeah, it was long overdue. I was surprised, that once, when Kevin Durant kind of made that ultimatum, it didn't happen right then and there since Kevin Durant was going to be staying. But I think they played 6 games so far this season. I think it was six or seven
Eight
games.
games. They 8 games in,
Eight,
right? As going into
well,
tonight, they're 8 games in.
yeah, but when Nash got fired the game before
Six.
this one, so
Correct.
so okay, so yeah, it was long overdue. Maybe one day Steve Nash could be a good coach. Maybe he needed to start with a younger team with not too many superstar egos there, especially when you're talking about guys that are, well, at least with Kevin Durant, ranked higher than you in the all-time NBA list. You know what I mean? So it was long overdue. Steve Nash wasn't getting the job done. Um, I'm surprised it lasted this long though, because they're looking bad right now. And then when you add on everything that's going on with Kyrie, it's one big circus, and they need a new ringmaster now.
Yeah, so like you said, we'll start with Nash first because that was the first quote unquote shoe to drop in this situation. Nash was underqualified for this position that he got. I never liked the hiring. I always thought that it was a very tough situation, a tough job to walk into. You got to remember, he's taken over as a first time head coach, never been an assistant, never worked on anyone's staff. And now you are given the keys to a team that has aspirations of winning a championship, right? So you got to walk into that situation. It was also really tough because people forget that Kenny Atkinson, who was the previous head coach, was fired like after 30 games. The first year that KD and Kyrie were there, KD never even got to play for Kenny Atkinson, and Kyrie was kind of off and on because he was injured that first year. So now you're also walking into that because now you're already their second coach in Brooklyn, really their third because Jacques Vaughn was the interim coach. So now
Yeah.
you're already their second official head coach in the short period amount of time that they have been there. Then they immediately start overhauling the roster, right? They make the move for James Harden. They trade away all those young pieces that were part of building the culture there. Fast forward a little bit more, you get the Kyrie saga last year with the vaccination, which we're going to get into more as well. but he had to deal with that now as a first-time head coach. Then you got KD, who kind of throws you under the bus and says, it's either me or him. Either you trade me or you get rid of Steve Nash and Sean Marks. Obviously, 6 games into the season, we see who they got rid of first. So there were all these different circumstances for Steve Nash as a first-time head coach, which I was already skeptical he was ever going to be able to handle. And that's why we see in this short amount of time that it's over already. They never reached their capability. The furthest they got was the second round of the playoffs. They're coming off getting swept last year, which was a major disappointment for them, along with everything else that took place. Steve Nash should have never had this job in the first place. But this also falls on the Nets because the Nets gave too much power to KD and Kyrie. As I mentioned, they came in right away, fired, and got Kenny Atkinson fired. Then KD handpicked Steve Nash only for Kyrie to go on a podcast and say, we really don't need a head coach. So this was trouble from the start. It's been a mess overall in Brooklyn, and I don't really see it getting better.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, the coach that they're trying to get right now is just like, yo, y'all kicking out drama, y'all bringing in drama. There's a lot of baggage going on right now, you know, with the Brooklyn Nets. And as much as I think Ime Udoka is a good coach, and I think he would actually be good for the Nets, there's just so much drama going on right now with the organization. It's crazy. And we might as well just jump into the Kyrie stuff right now because
I want to get into a little bit of the Ime stuff because you mentioned it there. We could get into a little bit of the Ime stuff as well because now you're adding another head coach who I think is an upgrade, right?
Yeah.
He is an upgrade over Steve Nash. He's far more accomplished. He's someone who I mentioned was on other people's staff, including Steve Nash. So he put in the work to get to this position.
Yeah.
But just because he changed the scenery doesn't mean he gets to escape what took place in Boston and how that ended.
Oh, not at all. Not at all. He has to be held accountable for that. And he's going to be held accountable and bombarded, at least for the first couple of weeks. The media is going to go at him crazy because we really haven't seen him speak since everything occurred. There was the one statement or whatever. But as far as video him doing a press conference or something like that, where he's going to really have to start speaking more because, at that point, he didn't have to speak. He didn't have to, He didn't have to do anything because he was suspended. So there was nothing, Like if he wanted to just lay low and not come outside, he could do that. Now you're not going to be able to avoid coming outside if you're coaching the Brooklyn Nets. So we'll deal with that for a couple of weeks, and then kind of go from there.
Yeah, and so as you mentioned, he gets suspended, but he never has to address the media. He's never got to address it publicly. I thought it was a little telling that we heard from Marcus Smart, who said they were shocked. Inside the locker room, they were shocked that he was given the permission to just leave because they were all under the assumption that it was just going to be a year suspension and that they would circle back and possibly bring him back. Now, I think us on the outside world, we kind of knew this was coming. We knew the exit was coming. I just don't think we knew it was this soon. And we damn sure didn't know that it was going to be to the Brooklyn Nets. So all the drama that comes with it is not going away. He's coming into a situation that's filled with drama. We're going to get into Kyrie right now. But he's taken over a team that has big-time aspirations based off the 2-star players. He's still got that baggage that he's got to bring with him that now he's going to have to address. And he's got to address it in the media capital of the world now. So now it's a whole nother set of distractions. And we say all that, and we still haven't even mentioned Ben Simmons, who's out right now, who's injured right now and missing tonight's game. So Ben Simmons was already kind of a distraction for this team. And then Nash, and now Kyrie, and now Udoka. It just goes on and on. KD, I don't know if you saw it when he addressed the media today. He seems kind of over it.
Yeah,
he just seems over it. But we got to address the elephant in the room, Kyrie Irving. I want to start off by saying this. All right, we have been, you and I both, but I'm speaking for me. I know I've been critical of Kyrie as a player, not as a man, because I've applauded him for the things he's done, for helping the Floyd family out, the donations he's made. But as a player, purely as a basketball player, I think he has done more damage to his career than probably any other player the NBA has ever seen. Just the way he has conducted himself with the media, the way he has handled the exits from these teams, right? When he left Cleveland, that wasn't on great terms, and I didn't think he handled that first interview after leaving Cleveland properly. The way he left Boston wasn't great. The last 2.5 years in Brooklyn haven't been great. And now this past week have been really terrible for his image as a player. As a person, I'm not mad at him for posting a documentary. I just want to put that out there. I'm not mad at him. He has every right to post anything he wants to post. That's his social media page. I just think he handled it wrong and being so defiant as opposed to being understanding to what people were upset about. But Trip, I want to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah. I mean, again, yeah, I agree with most of what you're saying. He does have the right to to post anything he wants. Now, you also have to understand that what's gonna come along with that as well. And it's crazy because I was talking to my niece about this. She was getting not about the Kyrie thing, but she's getting a little bit of trouble. And I was trying to explain to her that what happens is when you keep getting into trouble and keep having things pop up, people just tend to always paint the negative narrative because that's what they're used to, receiving from you. So when you're Kyrie Irving and we just finished coming off of the whole vaccination thing, and again, you have the right to do whatever you want in regards to your body and taking a vaccination. I'm not mad at you for not taking the vaccine, but that was a big issue because you had to miss half of the season basically because and then on top of that all of the home games and whatnot. So that was a lot. But then prior to that, you were taking games off, just randomly taking games off whenever you feel like it, doing what you want. Prior to that, it was we don't even need a coach here. You know what I mean? And then prior to that was the exits from the Celtics, how that all turned out. But prior to that, the exit from Cleveland, how that all turned out. So there's so much that's going on, with Kyrie Irving, where after a while people were just like, "Oh, here we come, here we go with this BS again. We got to check him. We got to check him. We got to do something because he's going off again. It's Kyrie. He's being Kyrie." So when you get to when you get to that point, and it's like yeah, everybody is going to come at you for the things you do, especially if you're doing something like that. Now again, I can't speak on the actual documentary that he posted because I haven't watched it yet. I've been looking for it so I can watch it, but I haven't actually watched it yet because I do want to get an understanding of one, why Kyrie would post the documentary in the first place. What information is in the documentary that made him post that documentary? And I would like to find out what's the offensive parts of the documentary that have offended the Jewish community. So I want to gain a better understanding of both of those things. So I will watch the documentary so I can make a better assessment for myself. Um, I'm not with a lot of these guys in the media coming at Kyrie Irving. Two in particular that I was a little disappointed in Shaq and Charles Barkley. Just something in me. It just makes me feel like neither one of them have even watched the documentary for them to be speaking the way they were in regards to Kyrie Irving. And there was one thing that Shaq was saying as well that really kind of had me like, nah, that's kind of whack on your part. Let's be clear. Kyrie Irving isn't taking $40 million from anyone. He earned that money. His talent and his abilities on the court led him to earn that money. He's not taking money from anybody. So I just wanted to. I didn't like that when Shaq said he was just taking money from David Stern because everybody that when you lace up them kicks and you get on that court, you in the weight room, you on the track, you in the gym, whatever you're doing, your mental exercises, you earn that paycheck. So I didn't like that aspect of it. As far as the suspension goes, I kind of that ultimately that's going to come with the territory because there's going to be a lot of pressure that's as you see everybody's talking about it in the media. So I was like, all right, now when originally there wasn't a suspension, now we have a suspension. So there's a lot of moving parts, but again, I'm going to watch the documentary for myself because I do want to come back and actually be able to speak on the documentary from a standpoint of me having seen it and knowing what's going on, and then I can really make a bigger call.
Yeah, I have not devoted the time to watch it. Kind of similar situation as you. I do plan on watching it, but I have not. But I did read up on the documentary because I wanted to have a better understanding of what was so offensive about it. Because as I mentioned, I didn't think that he was wrong for posting it. Any movie, any documentary that any one of us watch can offend anyone, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I said I started off by saying that I didn't think he was wrong for that. If this is what I'm watching tonight and I want to share it with my followers and maybe create a healthy dialogue with people, like, hey, this is what I'm watching tonight. What y'all thought about it? Whatever the case may be, that's fine. The two things that everyone's really talking about in the base of the documentary is there are claims made in there that the Holocaust either was fabricated or not as bad as we were told, that it was exaggerated in a way to benefit the white Jew, right? That was the first thing. The other thing in there was Hitler quotes that talks about the black Jew and are derogatory towards the white Jew. So those are the two things that I took from it that were the most offensive, because I think anytime a documentary is quoting Hitler for their facts, it's gonna be offensive. Let's call it what it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
But again, I think where Kyrie went wrong in this whole situation was you posted it, people felt a certain type of way, okay, but don't now become defensive about them being offended.
Yeah.
Right? We're all adults. All right. So let's have healthy dialogue now. Right? I'm willing to listen to your point of view. You listen to my point of view, and we move on. And to me, the reason that really stuck out is because if you look at the text messages from Brooklyn Nets owner Joe Tsai, he talked about that. He said about us moving together forward through dialogue, giving Kyrie a better understanding of why what he posted was offensive. So from the jump, I thought Joe Tsai took a positive approach in that even though I'm not happy you posted this, I'm willing to sit down with you and speak with you to see what your thoughts were on it, and maybe you understand my thoughts on it.
Yeah.
But Kyrie continued to be defiant. What really bothered me at the end of all this,
Kyrie being Kyrie.
Right, Kyrie being Kyrie. But what really made it look bad for Kyrie is that now that they gave you the suspension, now you give the heartfelt apology. Why did it take the suspension for you to give the heartfelt apology? If you didn't want to give the apology, stand on that, bro. Don't give an apology. Say this is what I believe, and that's it. And then you got to take the consequences with that, which is the other part of this conversation as well. Because I think some people don't realize that Kyrie Irving, even though he's a millionaire and he's done very well for himself financially, he is still an employee of the Brooklyn Nets. And so anything that brings bad publicity towards the Brooklyn Nets, they're going to have to fine you or punish you in some way, shape, or form, because that's still their business no matter what. No all-star, no player is above the organization. Let's keep it a buck. We know that already. Yeah. So for me, now that you've been suspended 5 games, you're going to lose out on about $1 million. Now it's like, oh, you know what? I never meant to offend any of my Jewish brothers and sisters and all. And that's something that you could have said yesterday when you were in front of the media. You didn't have to wait to be suspended to say that.
Yeah. Well, so here's my thing with the apology tours. I don't think that. Well, I did, like, Kyrie's mindset on what he believes hasn't changed from pre-apology to post-apology. I'm apologizing because this is going to, pacify because of the results of I'm suspended now, and all these other things are starting to happen, so I'm going to apologize. Changed actions, is really what's needed. Because apologies don't mean anything. Because if I just did something to you in a moment, if I just pushed you down, I'm not really sorry about that. If I wanted to push you down, I wanted to push you down. I'm not sorry. So even if I say sorry in the moment, that sorry is BS. You know what I mean? So, like, what are you really getting from an apology? Does it really make you feel that much better? No. Like, I would love to see. Let's have a healthy dialogue then. You know what? Bring some Jewish leaders. Bring some of our leaders, who really are of this and really study what's going on, and let's have an actual debate. And you show me where you're coming from, I'll show you where I'm coming from, and let's see if we can kind of come together on some kind of a neutral ground to see what's happening. Because at the end of the day, how many people living right now on this earth were a part of the Holocaust that could really say this is what happened during the Holocaust?
No, you're right. But shout out to Will Gordon real quick. Will couldn't be with us tonight. And happy birthday to your daughter, Will, as well.
Happy birthday, yes.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Will will be back with us next week for the opinionated ones. But I'll say, whether no matter what you believe in terms of the Holocaust, how bad it was, whatever, none of us right now, Kyrie's a little younger than us. Kyrie's 30 years old. None of us are in position to agree or disagree with how good or bad it was.
Yeah.
Right. That's just like the civil rights movement was before our time. If somebody of our age were to say, oh, the civil rights movement wasn't that bad, who are you to say that? You didn't have to live through it. You didn't have those experiences. You don't know what that was like. So you can't diminish what people's experiences were at that time. And that goes back to, again, Kyrie being a little defiant, because even in a press conference yesterday, he said, yeah, there was some things I didn't agree with. All right, then cool. That's an opportunity for dialogue. But you're apologizing now, like you said, to me kind of sounds forced. It sounds like, oh, I'm willing to apologize now because I know it's affecting my bottom line. A point you made earlier, Trip, that I really liked and I want to get back to. Kyrie has never been, quote unquote, the model employee for the Nets.
Yeah.
And that can't be overlooked either, because there are people who are going to assume, oh, he's being suspended because of this. No, he's being suspended because I think the Nets are tired of his BS. Like, you can't consistently come to us and say, hey, I need time away from mental health, and then we see you partying the next night. Right? Oh, by the way, you're supposed to be a team leader, but you didn't want to go to the bubble. Right? Oh, you was a team leader, but you didn't want to get vaccinated last year. Your words, because you wanted to be a voice for the voiceless. But then when we get swept in the playoffs, you say, oh, we really didn't have camaraderie this year. Well, you were a part of that reason. You're one of our team leaders and you only played 25, 30 games.
Yeah.
You know, and then to me, the Kyrie quote that is, it's going to last forever. You stepped away from the team last year because of the vaccination, right? You played games in the second half of the year once the mandates were kind of lifted. Then when you don't get the extension this year and you have to opt in to $30+ million, you say, I sacrificed a lot last year, and now it's costing me. We should all be so lucky to make a sacrifice that still winds up getting us $30 million this year and $17 million last year. We should all be so lucky. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it is what it is.
Facts.
So when you say things like that, it's almost like, you know what I'm saying? Like you're chastising us. Like, now you really gonna throw that in our face? Like we should feel sorry for you? These were decisions you made. You know what I'm saying? On the flip side, I'm not comparing the two. The situations are different. But this is what I mean about if you're going to be defining your stance, take that stance. As much as we all petitioned for Colin Kaepernick to get back in the NFL, teams knew Kaepernick was not going to stop taking a knee. Did he ever apologize for that? Did Kaepernick ever say, hey, if I offended? No, he never. He took his stance. No. I let y'all know why I'm taking a knee. This is what I believe in. And I will continue to take the knee on any team that I get an opportunity to play for. He never stopped trying to put himself in position to play, no matter how you felt about it, right? Yeah. That's what I mean about taking a stand. Don't take a stand and be defiant until it affects your bottom line. Now it's like, oh, you know what? I apologize. That's what y'all want. All right.
Yeah, my bad, y'all. My bad.
Yeah, like you were in front of the media and you had a chance to apologize. You didn't. You were defiant. You said, I cannot be, his words, I cannot be anti-Semitic because I know my origins. What?
Yeah.
So again, let's keep it.
Listen.
Hold on, Trip. Right. And for the people that don't know, anti-Semitic is obviously prejudice towards Jewish people.
Yeah.
So because I know my origins, I can't be anti-Semitic?
Definitely can be.
Right. What do you mean by that, Kyrie? Most of us know our origins. That doesn't mean we can't be anti-Semitic.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not that because I can't speak for Kyrie in any way, shape, or form. And you know, I would assume though that the argument he's trying to make is that if he has Jewish culture, if he's of the Jewish community, then he can't be anti-Semitic. But you know, there's such thing as being racist against your own people,
right?
So anyway you look at it, you could still be anti-Semitic.
1,000%. I mean, you know, and to make light, not to make light of the situation, but to put a little comedic twist on it. Didn't Dave Chappelle have the black white supremacist skit?
Yes, exactly.
Right, make it right. Yeah. I know plenty of Puerto Ricans who are racist against our own people.
Yeah,
there are plenty of black people who are racist against black people.
Exactly.
So just because you know your origins does not mean that you cannot be racist or prejudiced towards your own people.
Yeah,
it could still happen. But again, we'll end it off like this. We're gonna get into some NFL stuff. And again, this is not to pile on to Kyrie because we started off by saying, you know, we applaud a lot of the things he's done away from the court. And I think that gets overshadowed by these type of moments from Kyrie. But when the Floyd family needed a little assistance, Kyrie silently went about that. He didn't look for the cameras. He didn't try to make a big press release out of it. He did the right thing there. We applauded him at that time. He was one of the vocal leaders during the bubble when players were trying to figure out should they stay or go. And he did say, this is an opportunity for all of us to use our voice and our power and try to invoke change. And we applauded him for that. But we also got to call a spade a spade. And when you wrong, or when you kind of dabbling and you trying to play both sides of it, we got to call you out on that as well, Kyrie. This was an opportunity, like I said, where you could have created dialogue as opposed to being defensive and defiant.
Yeah. So, well, now he's got the indefinite minimum 5-game suspension to deal with. Nets won tonight blowout. So, maybe this might be a good thing for the team.
Let me ask you, Trip. I personally think, they destroyed the Wizards tonight. Sorry about that, Will. I want to say this, man. Kevin Durant looked kind of worn down when he spoke about it. And I think Kevin Durant probably hasn't gotten as much backlash as he should for his lack of leadership on his Brooklyn team, because I think some of this has spiraled out of control because he hasn't been the leader he needed to be for the team.
Yeah.
Do you think, Trip, that Kyrie Irving ever plays for the Nets again?
Well, I think he'll play for them this season again because he is going to come back from suspension at some point. So I do think he will. Honestly, I think after they speak, I think he does wind up staying with them. 1 second. I think he does wind up staying with them. For the rest of the season. Now, next season, that's a completely different thing. I'm not sure about that, but I do think he finishes the year with them.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how this plays out. Right now, it's a 5-game suspension. It's going to keep him out for about a week and a half because I think in total they play 5 of those games over the course of 11 days. So almost 2 weeks he'll be out. But they also threw in the little tangent that he can return upon completion of, I guess, of things that they want him to do.
Yeah.
Now, there was originally a donation that he and the Nets were going to make, I believe, to the ADL, right? And the ADL has already said they're not accepting a donation from Kyrie because of the interview yesterday. Yeah. So I would assume that at some point they're going to have to sit down with that organization to kind of make the peace. But I wouldn't be surprised if he never plays for the Nets again, Trip. I would not be surprised, man, because it's not just this incident like we talked about. It's a checklist of things, right, that have taken place. And ESPN published an article a couple hours ago where they say that Joe Tsai, during all this time, the reason it got to a suspension, Joe Tsai did not want to suspend Kyrie Irving. But what has taken place over the last 6 days is Kyrie is not returning his calls, has not returned his texts, and Kyrie is forcing the organization to speak to his agent and his stepmother as opposed to speaking to him. And I think this is what ESPN is reporting. I think it is getting to a point where Joe Tsai and the organization is starting to feel like, look, enough is enough. As great a talent as you are on the court, you ain't won us anything yet. And we're only going to tolerate but so much, because we can't forget that last year Joe Tsai tried to go to bat for him when he didn't want to get the vaccination. And Joe Tsai was trying everything he could in his power. Remember, there was those rumors that they're speaking with the mayor of the city and they're trying to see what they can get done. They have been trying to work with Kyrie. But if you're telling me in a situation like this where things is heating up and I can't speak to you directly, I got to speak to your stepmother and your agent.
Kyrie being Kyrie again.
I'm telling you, man, I would not be surprised if he never plays for the Nets again. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to find a trade partner immediately, or they say, look, we're going to work out a buyout and just stay home.
Well, that would be kind of crazy. Now, if that does happen, I'm sure there's going to be some other teams that would pick up Kyrie.
Of course.
Pick him up. So if that happens, where should Kyrie go? Let's just say if that's good. If ultimately it came down to we're going to buy you out and then he just can sign anywhere else, where do you think Kyrie would go just to spite them?
Off the top of my head, I think there's only if they bought him out, he's going to the Lakers. If they buy Kyrie out, and let's say they say, all right, we're not going to give you the full $30 million because we're only 2.5 weeks into the season, but we'll buy you out for 15 or 20 million of that contract. Then he's an outright free agent. Yeah. He'll take the minimum to go to the Lakers because he's still going to get that 15 or 20 million from Brooklyn.
Facts.
Right. And he'll go to the Lakers understanding that I still have an opportunity to compete and I still have an opportunity to play in a major city. And if I perform well, maybe the Lakers give me that next contract I want. So I think the Lakers definitely would be the number one team there. The Lakers would still have to figure out how to make it work because he would have to take a significant pay cut to fit on their roster.
Yeah.
But then at that point, if you're the Lakers, you ship Russ off to whoever's willing to take him, and you try to clear that off your books just so you can get Kyrie in there and get going.
So now, do you ship? All right. So now let's just say this happened, right?
Hypothetical, okay.
Hypothetical. The Nets buy out Kyrie. He's going to sign with the Lakers. What they do is they say, all right, fine, we'll trade Westbrook to the Pacers for Buddy Hield and Miles Turner, and then bring in Kyrie, Hield, and Turner. Do the Lakers make it to the Western Conference Final?
I think that makes if you're telling me you get Kyrie, Miles Turner, Buddy Hield, right? And then you're still able, if you don't ship both those first round picks, because I think that's a major sticking point for the Lakers. If maybe you only got to ship one first round pick and you can hold that other one and make an additional move, I think it can make them a top 4 team in the West. I do. Now that's still going to be contingent on, because there's a lot of moving parts there. You got to remember, now your success and your future is contingent on AD being healthy, Kyrie completely buying in. Because just because Kyrie changes scenes doesn't mean he has bought in. So you would still need a version of Kyrie closer to 2017, 2018 in Cleveland, where 2016, 2017, I say, when he was locked in and you knew what you were getting. And maybe Bron is the leader that can do that for Kyrie, because that's when Kyrie's looked his best with LeBron. Yeah. So maybe that's what it takes. But I do think it could make them a top 4 team, because I would like that roster much more than I like Phoenix's roster, than I even like Denver's roster, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah.
And like I said, and if you're able to not ship both first round picks, let's say you only ship one and maybe you use that other first rounder to get another shooter, then I like it even more.
Then use the other first round and try to get Duncan Robinson.
Yeah, I mean, but like I proposed that trade last week about Duncan Robinson. You would still, in that case, you would still have to find a salary to dump, because Duncan Robinson is making like 17 million.
Yeah, that's the only thing.
Yeah, it gets a little trickier then. Like you would have to find, a couple salaries to make it work. But I wouldn't say it's impossible. I mean, you could maybe get a third team involved. Maybe when you offload Russ, it's some sort of 3-team movement where you're able to get Duncan in return. Something, it gets tricky, but it's not impossible. It's all hypothetical, because again, you need AD to be healthy. And I know they beat the Pelicans the other night, but the one thing that stuck out to me immediately when you look at the stat sheet is how many minutes Bron had to play. He played 40 minutes the other night.
Yeah.
20 years in the league, your 20th season, you do not want LeBron James having to play 40 minutes a night. So, that's the other factor.
On Tuesday in October.
Right. So
come on.
Right. So, you know what I'm saying? Like those are the things that still scare me, but just on the surface, purely hypothetical. If you're telling me you can add Miles Turner, Buddy Hield. Oh, by the way, Miles Turner probably should be hit with tampering charges too, Trip. Because he went out there and basically told the Lakers, just trade for me. Just make the deal.
Can players get tampering charges? That was only like the upper brass that could get tampering charges.
I think it's only front office types, but I mean, Miles Turner damn near just said, come get me. He flat out told the media they should just make the move. Go ahead. Like, you know what I'm saying? He said, come get me. But again, on the surface, yeah, I like it. I like it better. I would ask anybody to debate me on it. I would like Miles Turner, AD. You're talking about a starting 5 of Miles Turner, AD, Bron. You don't even have to start Buddy Hield. You could still start Pat Bev next to Kyrie. It's a small backcourt, but Pat Bev is a defensive beast. And then bring Buddy Hield off the bench as your shooter.
Yeah.
Right? You move Lonnie Walker to the bench. You move Lonnie Walker to the bench.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Now you got a deep roster too.
Right. You still got Kendrick Nunn. So the roster looks better. And I think in terms of when you compare it to some of the better teams, I would like them better than Denver. I don't know if I like them better than Phoenix, but I like them better than Denver. I like them better than the Clippers at that point.
Well, I like them better than Phoenix if they're healthy.
But that's the big if.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But this is obviously it's all contingent on health. But I still stand by. I believe the Lakers would have beat Phoenix if Anthony Davis doesn't get hurt.
You're talking about 2 years ago when Phoenix made their run.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're in agreement with that because I said the same thing. I think that kind of changed the course of history for both those teams. Because if Phoenix gets bumped in the first round that year, Chris Paul don't get that massive contract to re-up with Phoenix, I don't think.
Yeah,
If they get bumped in the first round and let's not forget they were up 2-1 on Phoenix that
yeah,
series. If he doesn't get hurt, Chris Paul may not be in Phoenix right now. Chris Paul might have taken that bag from the Knicks because the Knicks had a bag waiting for him.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? And then Phoenix course of history is completely different. But it's all hypothetical, man. We're about to
yeah.
get into some football, but before we do, just want to remind everyone, subscribe to the Sanchez Show. We do this every Friday night. This is the Friday Night Live series. We call it the Opinionated Ones. Normally it's a 3-man team. Will Gordon's not with us tonight, but he'll be back next week. And then tune in on Sunday. We got a live that we're doing, Real Fans Real Talk, the Sanchez Show. We get together, we give you everything in sports. We talking football, basketball, baseball, boxing. Trip, I think Sunday is going to be an interesting show because the World Series might be over on Saturday night, but we'll save that for Sunday.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah,
save
yeah.
that for
Facts,
Sunday.
facts, facts, facts.
And there's some boxing too. Well, you know what, Trips, is you and I'm just gonna throw this one out for you, right?
Mhm.
We're not getting a mega fight we want. We'll talk about that later. Crawford Spence. We'll save that one for Sunday. But we did get an announcement on a fight that I think we're both going to enjoy.
Mhm.
Caleb Plant against Benavidez is going down. I believe they said it's going to be mid-December. I got to double check the date.
Yeah, well, there was some controversy surrounding the fight, though.
What's that?
No, I'm
Which
saying there
fight?
was someone like that. It wasn't gonna happen. Then it was gonna happen, and then they kind of like did it on their own. Like, what was going on with it? Because I was reading something, but I didn't get to going deep into the whole article.
I got to read the article and see what they're talking about. Uh, I think Caleb Plant. Oh, they saying it's going to be early next year. I'm sorry. I was thinking it was next month, but it's going to be next year. I
Okay.
think Caleb Plant kind of reached out to Benavidez people directly because he
Okay.
wanted to fight. I give, and we're not going to spend too much time on boxing, but I give Caleb Plant a lot of credit and respect because he went toe to toe with Canelo and did hold his own before he got knocked out late in that fight. But then he's turned around before Anthony Durrell. Now he's fighting Benavidez. He's getting in there with the best competitors at middleweight. He still wants his crack at Canelo again. Benavidez has been one of the most duck guys at middleweight. So I commend him for making this fight quick and saying, this is what I want, this is what the people want, let's do it.
Facts.
But and make sure you see our social media handles. Make sure you're following us across all platforms on social media, man. Again, we do this at least 2 to 3 times a week. Friday night lives. We got the Sunday joints. Normally we do the pregame on Sunday. This Sunday we're going to do it at 7 p.m. right before the late game. And the reason we're doing it that way is because if you ever tune into the Friday night lives, you'll know we normally break down the biggest games of the weekend. And one of the biggest games this weekend is the Sunday night game. It's the Titans going to Kansas City. The Titans, after an 0-2 start, have gotten themselves together. Kansas City has been Kansas City, man. And I'm sorry to disappoint the people who thought they were going to fall off just because Tyreek left. I think they're actually better now than they were with Tyreek. But Trip, I want to get your thoughts on this game.
Um, I'm going Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, that young man, and those weapons that they have, they have been figuring things out every week. Um, I think he's finally developing the chemistry with Juju, McCole Hardman. He's been great for them. Obviously, we know Kelsey is Kelsey. If they can get a little bit more consistency out of the running game, which I was a little surprised that they didn't make a move to bring over a running back or much of anything, really. But in this game, I'm still going with the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes is hot right now. Those receivers are looking very comfortable in that system. So I'm excited, but I think but I got the Chiefs winning this game. Look for Mahomes to have at least 350 yards in the air.
Yeah. I like the Chiefs in this game as well. We're in agreement there. I think the Chiefs have been a monster so far this year. And I know Buffalo's getting a lot of headlines as the top team in the AFC. I know the Eagles, who just went to 8-0 last night, are getting a lot of headlines. But Mahomes, I think personally, when you look at the numbers, Mahomes is having his best year since 2018 when he won the MVP. He's been
Mm-hmm.
phenomenal this year. I mean, you're talking about a guy you said about 350 yards on Sunday. He might go for that because right now he's averaging 308 a game. Right now, through 8 weeks, 20 touchdowns, 5 interceptions.
Yeah.
So he has been phenomenal so far. It's been flying under the radar a little bit because I think all the headlines are going to Buffalo and what Josh Allen has been doing. I think all the headlines are going to Philly because they're the last undefeated team. Then you got the drama headlines like Green Bay and Tampa Bay. And people are kind of forgetting that the Kansas City Chiefs have been the class of the AFC for the last 4 years. People are forgetting that the Kansas City Chiefs still have the best quarterback in the game. No disrespect to Josh Allen, who I like a lot. But Patrick Mahomes is that guy. And he's doing it now with more weapons, I think, because they added Juju. They added Valdez-Scantling. Trip, you're going to be mad, but I think your man Kadarius Toney going to have a big week. They brought him in now for bye week. He got a chance to see the playbook a little bit. Andy Reid is going to unlock that aspect of their game. Of course, we know about Travis Kelce. The defense is better than it's been in the past. I love Kansas City in this spot. I think they handle Tennessee. Tennessee also has a little tricky situation because Ryan Tannehill is questionable. They may have to go with Malik Willis again. Malik Willis, his second start, he's still a very raw product at quarterback. I think last week he only threw the ball 10 times. So that ain't going to fly against Kansas City because you got to be able to air it out a little bit. You got to keep that defense honest. If not, they're just going to stack the box and they're going to slow down Derrick Henry. I like Kansas City, and I like them big in this game. I could see this being a 2-touchdown victory for Kansas City.
Yeah, listen, shout out to Derrick Henry, another 200-yard game last week, but they're gonna need more. They're gonna need 300 yards out of Derrick Henry to beat this Chiefs team with coming off that bye, and now having another weapon, and those guys really starting to get acclimated to the system. All of these new pieces, and guys that were there and kind of stepping up. Like I said, if they get the running game together, if you can even give me 65 yards from Edwards-Helaire, you give me that. It's going to be a long night for a lot of teams in this league.
Yeah, I mean, and listen, Andy Reid is one of the best coaches coming off a bye. They're going to flash that record up as well because even back to his days in Philly, he's always been incredible coming off the bye. But also, they know what Tennessee's game is. They faced Tennessee several times over the last couple of years. They know Tennessee is going to try to ground and pound, try to set up a little play action pass to get over the middle of the field. But again, this Kansas City defense is better than people realize. It's going to get ugly. It's going to get really ugly, especially for Malik. Arrowhead is a tough place to play. And when you're looking across the sideline and Kansas City's able to move the ball up and down the field, it's going to be very difficult for them. I like Kansas City. You like Kansas City. We both got them. The other big game this weekend, Trip, like I said, is only a couple that really pair up winning teams. You and I spoke about this on Sunday. On Sunday, the line was already 10.5 for the Buffalo Bills. As we speak right now, it's at 11.5. The Buffalo Bills, top team in the AFC. I was hoping the Jets could have found a way to beat the Patriots last week just to make this game even more hype. Right? We both picked the Jets and we both would have liked them to win.
Yeah.
But the Jets now coming off, they kind of got undressed by the Patriots. Zach Wilson threw the 3 interceptions. Breece Hall, the absence of Breece Hall was felt. You could tell they weren't able to run the ball and they didn't have that outlet, that safety net. They got to take on this Buffalo team. It is in MetLife Stadium. Do you give the Jets a chance in this one as 11.5-point underdogs?
Nah, I can't. I'm sorry, I can't do it. That if not even that I could have done it. Even if they beat the Patriots last week, I still couldn't have. I just think that this Bills team is just too far ahead of the Jets, and that defense is lights out. The offense, they just added Naheem Hines for geez, like that offense is going to be even more potent. With that kind of catching ability out of the backfield, oh my goodness, these guys are going to be crazy. It's like you have to guard everybody. You still have Diggs out there, Gabriel, Josh Allen. You really got to watch him. You got to keep a QB spy on him because he can take off on you. And now you got a speedy pass catching running back who's been one of the better pass catching running backs in the league for the past couple of seasons. This offense just got even more potent, and the defense is the defense. They have been, shutting down teams all season. I don't see Zach Wilson being able to get past this defense. I don't know if there's anything that this Jets offense can do in this game here.
Yeah, this is a super tough matchup for the Jets. Buffalo ranking tops in offense and defense. Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs just continue to elevate their game every week. Though I will be tuning in because I want to see how many times Sauce Gardner and Diggs match up against each other in this game.
That's gonna be a fun
But
one.
but you mentioned it, and I love the Naheem Hines pickup for them because Naheem is so versatile out the backfield, and also as a punt returner, he's got 2 career punt returns as well. So he's a guy who has game breaker ability every time he touches the ball.
Mm-hmm.
His last game with the Colts, he had a touchdown receiving in that game. So he does so many things for you. He fits right in with them. He's going to be an explosive playmaker. It's another guy for them now. I see Buffalo winning it. I think it'll be. I think the Jets can cover the 11 and a half. I just don't think they could win. They
Yeah.
may lose this game by 10 points and cover, but I just don't think they could win because they don't have enough offensively and defensively. Again, this is a terrible matchup for them. This is a
Yeah.
terrible matchup. Buffalo is the cream of the crop in the AFC. I think Buffalo wins this one. I'll say it's a 10-point victory. I'll say maybe it's something like 27-17, maybe 30-20 if the Jets are able to get to 20 points. But
Yeah.
they'll cover, but I don't think they could beat the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah. Nah. I don't think so. I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, I don't think it'll happen, man. Like I said, this is the Friday Night Live series, man. Don't be shy. Like we always say, send in your comments, send in your questions, your topics, whatever you want us to get into. We get into that, man. But now it is time, Trip, for the 401k pick of the week and the upset pick of the week. I'll let you start whichever one you want to start with. For the people, again, that are tuning in for the first time, the 401k pick of the week is when we blindly advise you to cash out all your savings, close it all out, retirement plan, all that, and put it on one specific team. All right. So, Trip, if you want to start with the 401k, go ahead. If you want to start with your upset pick, go ahead. Just let me know which one you're going with.
All right. So for my 401k pick of the week, see, I don't want to take the easy way out and say the Bills. So I'm not
Nah,
going to
it's
do that.
fine if that's who you're going with. Listen, that's who you're
Right
going
there.
with.
Well, all right, listen, I'll put them up there, but I'll give you a second
Okay.
401k pick, just just cause, and I'll go with the Chargers over the Falcons in Atlanta.
Ooh, okay. Now the Chargers are favored by 3 in Atlanta. You got them covering that or just winning outright?
No, you said the spread is what on that game?
3.
No, I think they're gonna win outright. I think they'll win by a touchdown at least.
That's interesting you said that. You got the Chargers winning in Atlanta. Will Gordon would be tremendously happy behind that. And I want to say this too. We were going to get into some of that Commanders talk tonight because Daniel Snyder, you and I could kind of touch on it as well. But I really wanted Will to be involved in this because for anybody who's just tuning in or doesn't know, Will used to be a Redskins / football team / Commander fan and switched his allegiance and his alliance, right? So we could get a little bit into Daniel Snyder if you want. I'm going to go the other way because my upset pick of the week is the Falcons +3. So you and I, we're going to battle this weekend out because
Okay.
the Falcons are very good running the ball. We're talking about the 5th best rushing team in the league going up against a Charger team that's 28th, 27th against the run. Also, no Keenan Allen. He won't be back yet. Mike Williams has already been ruled out for this game. The defense, obviously, we know is banged up because J.C. Jackson's still out. Bosa's still out. I think this is a prime spot where the Falcons just beat up on a banged up Charger team.
Yeah.
I think overall the Chargers are better, but it's just a spot. Chargers missing so many starters, going up against a team that loves to run the ball, and just that's all they do. The Falcons are just going to run the ball until you find a way to stop it. And then they might hit a play action to Pitts or Drake London, but they're going to run the ball. And because the Chargers struggle so much to stop the run, we saw a couple weeks ago when the Seahawks ran up and down the field on them. I think the Falcons do the same thing. The Falcons are my upset pick of the week, which goes against your 401k pick of the week. One of us is going to be wrong.
Yeah.
Listen, before you give me your 401k though, Trip, I wanted to ask you, like I said, we'll get into the Commanders just a little bit because I know Will has so many thoughts on this and we'll save some of it for later.
Okay.
The Commanders, Daniel Snyder and his wife have already been in talks with Bank of America about looking and exploring all options, whether it is bringing a minority owner as a part of the team or even outright selling the team. There's been rumors that Jay-Z and Jeff Bezos are trying to put a group together to potentially buy the team. Now, you and I are both right. We would love to see Jay-Z be part of an ownership group, no matter where it's at. Just on the surface, based on what we know, do you think this is more of a sell by the Snyders, or do you think they're just looking to bring on another ownership group as a minority partner?
I would hope it's a sell because realistically, knowing everything that's going on right now as a result of the past, I guess, what, 10 years, 15 years, as do you want to come into that situation as a minority owner and have to deal with that? Because if it's me, I want to clean house. I don't want to have nothing to do with y'all and all the nonsense that y'all was involved in. Because at the end of the day, you're going to now be tied to all of the BS that they have been involved in, the organization has been involved in for the past decade.
Yeah, I like that. You're right. You got to be cautious if you're trying to come on as a minority owner.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's tricky because I want Jay to own the team more so than any other entertainer, more so than anyone who comes from our culture and our background. I want Jay to own the team,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I look at it both ways because it would be great if him and Jeff Bezos are able to headline a team or a group to
Yeah.
buy the team. I think people so quickly dismiss Jay's affiliation with the NFL. Remember
That'd
when
be
him and Roger
kidding.
Goodell was sitting at the table? But Jay's
Mm-hmm.
produced.
Yeah.
Jay has produced. People were quick to, oh, he ain't gonna do shit. He ain't. But then Jay
And he
showed and
did.
proved,
He did a lot.
right? And I think that really opened up the conversation for Jay potentially being owner. Because now that I'm in the room and you get to know me and you see my vision,
Mm-hmm.
now the other owners will look and say, well, I like what Jay's been doing.
I like that Jay-Z guy.
I like that Jay-Z fellow. I like him. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? What is it? H to the Izzo? I like him. I
Yeah.
like him. Right? So on the other side though of it, I wouldn't be mad if Jay said, you know what? I'll come in as a silent partner just to get my feet wet. Because then when the next opportunity arises, now there's no excuses why you wouldn't allow me to be the first bidder.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think one of the we talked about it on Real Fans Real Talk. Diddy tried to buy the Panthers a few years ago.
Yeah.
I think one of the deterrents is that Diddy didn't have a real relationship with the NFL.
Yeah.
There was no connection there where
Well,
anybody
the
else.
good old boys club is
The good old boys club, right? It's the secret society. There was nobody who could really pitch for him and be like, nah, he would be great. We love his vision. We know what he's going to do with an organization. I think it was the opposite. It was people that felt kind of like they were guarded by it.
he
We
does
don't want
music.
this guy
What does he
coming in.
know? What does he know about the NFL and sports and
Right.
football?
Right. What is he going to do? What are his plans? What is this going to look like?
Which is stupid because what do any of the owners know about it before they own the team?
That's a fact. But there are smaller sample sizes of guys who were the minority owner and became the owner. And that's why I said I wouldn't be mad if Jay went that route. Because I think the most successful version of I was a small minority owner and then got my own team is Lakem in Golden State. The Golden State owner was a minority owner with the Celtics, very small, silent owner. Learned the business, obviously, and then when the opportunity came, he bought Golden State, and we see what he's done. He's turned them into a true juggernaut of the NBA. Yes. So I would love that for Jay as well. If Jay could go in there and say, look, I'll be silent, or I have very little impact on the overall standing of the team, but I'm going to learn the business in a way that nobody else has ever learned it. And then when the opportunity becomes available to buy a team, I want to be able to be at the top of that list because now I've already paid my dues in that way. If that's what it takes, so be it. Imagine, Trip, I'm throwing you a curveball now. Let's say 5 years down the line, 7 years down the line. Imagine a scenario where Jay-Z is an owner of an NFL franchise and his first hire as head coach is Deion Sanders. How ill would that be for the culture and for the league?
That would be so.
I just took your breath away. You see that? I just took your breath away. You see that,
bro? That would be so crazy. First, oh my goodness, jeez.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say this because I know you're gonna say it, so I don't want you to say it first. I want to be it first. That'd be my brand new team. That'd be my new favorite team.
Yeah, whatever team that is, that's my team. Yeah,
that's our team from now on.
Yeah, from now on, I'm rocking with Hov and Deion. That's two legends, two icons, two goats. Like I am rocking with Hov and Deion Sanders. Look what Deion Sanders is doing down in Jackson State, and let's be clear. As much as we praise Deion for the expansion and the publicity and the platforms that he's giving to HBCUs, that brother is coaching the heck out of that football team. I think they're 8-0 right now, if I'm not mistaken.
You are correct.
And his son should really be in the Heisman conversation. I know they're probably not gonna try to give him that boost because it's a HBU in the HBCU and it's in a smaller conference, but you got to start talking about this kid, and even for him, it doesn't really matter because he's going to get the same looks anyway because that's Deion's son. So he's still going to get those same looks. But, people need to be putting a lot more respect on Jackson State's name.
Oh, that's a fact. I think Deion has done a phenomenal job there. I think next year it's going to be very difficult. Again, I don't want to go too long on college football, but next year is going to be very difficult for the Power 5 schools to keep Jackson State off their schedule, because now it's gotten to a point where it's so much publicity. College Game Day was down there. What Deion is doing, one of these power conference schools is gonna have to schedule Jackson State, just out of necessity for the money that it's gonna bring. You're gonna have to take a chance, and I know you're not gonna want to, but you're gonna have to take a chance and play them because it's gonna be too much money on the line. There's gonna be too much publicity to ignore them. And like you said, I think Deion has done a phenomenal job. His son, he had both his sons on the team because one of his sons is a corner, the other is a quarterback. Everyone talks about the quarterback as a Heisman hopeful, or at least he should be a Heisman hopeful. And I agree. What gets overlooked is what Deion has been able to do recruitment-wise, because the number one cornerback in this last year's high school class chose Jackson State over every other school. And his son, who's also a corner, who was in the class, I believe 2 years ago, one of the top players in the class, he had a chance to go to South Carolina and followed his dad to Jackson State. So Deion can recruit. He's got talent there. And one of these Power 5 schools is going to have to play Jackson State at some point.
And they have the kid that they brought in was the number 2 kid.
That was the cornerback. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you add that in, you're gonna mess around. They're gonna be giving L's to a couple of them teams too.
But that's why I said you're not gonna be able to ignore them for too long. There's gonna be too much talent down there that another school. It may not be, an Alabama or what you call it, USC or Oregon. One of them might not do it, but if you're Washington State, why wouldn't you do it? If you're Oregon State,
because they're probably getting more coverage than you anyway, just because based off the strength of Deion.
That's what I'm saying. If you're one of these Power 5 schools that isn't at the top of the conference, right? If you're like an Oregon State, you don't get the publicity that Oregon gets. You don't get the publicity that Stanford gets or USC gets, right? So guess what? We're gonna schedule Jackson State to come in. Just don't schedule them for homecoming. Don't do that.
You don't want to get your feelings hurt.
Yeah, Deion already don't do that, because then Deion gonna take it personal. But maybe you schedule them for week 2 of the season, very early in the season.
Yeah, the guys I shoot for at Holy Trinity, they had I think it was Kellenberg scheduled. No, it wasn't Kellenberg. It was a different school, but they scheduled Trinity, who are the champions, on their homecoming because they were a AAA team and they only have Holy Trinity ranked as a AA team, even though they went undefeated last year and won the championship. So for some reason, they thought they should schedule Holy Trinity on their homecoming, and let's just say it didn't turn out the way they wanted it to.
Let's just say it won't happen again.
Yeah, right? Yeah, exactly. You won't make that mistake again. So yeah, don't do that. But eventually, they are going to have to see those young men, see Deion Sanders, the whole Jackson State. I will say this, going back to the Kanye, to Kyrie and to Kanye to an extent too, just of some of the things that they've been saying in regards to the power certain races might have in this country. If you really want to expand upon your power in this country as as Black and brown people, then start going to these HBCUs and see how fast you guys dictate one, how much money starts coming into these schools, the TV and contract, and how much they will have to start respecting these schools and to give them that type of platform. Because at the end of the day, if you go through the, I guess was the ESPN 100 best college players in the nation, probably going to be about 70, maybe even a little bit more than that percent of them is probably going to be minorities. So if you talk about 70% of the top 100 in the country all going to HBCUs, now you're talking about power and making a statement.
Oh, that's a fact. And we've touched on that topic before, but I think what Dion is doing down there at Jackson State proves that, because I would love to see the numbers or a stat to show how many times an HBCU has been on ESPN before Dion and after Dion. Because I know for a fact that Jackson State this year alone has been on ESPN, the app, at least 5 times.
Yeah.
At least. Right? The coverage that Dion has brought down there, I think, has been phenomenal. I think the overall job he's done. He talked about it. I don't remember exactly which platform it was on. It might have been Earn Your Leisure, where he talked about our budget is one of the smallest in the country. But that's where we learn to use social media. And everything is through social media, because you don't need a budget for social media.
Nope.
We're going to put the pregame speeches up there. We're going to put the workouts. We're going to put all the behind the scenes stuff. And those are the things that are going to attract the young athlete to your school. And as we mentioned, if he's able to recruit the number 2 overall prospect in his high school class, it ain't nothing stopping him from being able to recruit number 20. So to your point, Trip, if more athletes looked at it that way and said, look, we can go down there and play for a coach who knows me better than any other coach, right? Can connect with me better than any other coach, understands me better. Why wouldn't I?
And he was a top tier level.
He is truly.
He's probably the GOAT at his position. I mean,
in my opinion, he's the greatest to ever play that position.
Yeah. So,
and also, in my opinion, I think he is truly one of the greatest athletes ever. Because there have been multiple Major League Baseball managers who said if he committed to playing baseball, he could have been a guy who was consistently hitting 25 homers a year.
Yeah.
And played baseball full time if he wanted to. Also, he's the only man to ever play in a Super Bowl and a World Series. Only man to ever do that. So there's so many things that go into that. And we know Dion is making waves. That's why this past offseason, you saw guys like Nick Saban kind of taking jabs at Dion, because they see what's happening. Now there's somebody else, right? There's somebody else now on the playground who's a little cooler than us. He's more popular than us. He can connect with these guys better than we can.
Yep. And see, with a school like Alabama, where you got the legacy there of all those championships, they're gonna still be able to compete and get a lot of players. But when you talk about the Washingtons and the Oregon States and those smaller schools, from the smaller conferences, guys will go, you're all right, whatever. Hell yeah, I'll go learn from Dion, from one of the greatest to ever play the game of football. I'll go learn from him. I'm gonna get the same amount of exposure as one of those as the mid-tier schools by going to play for Jackson State with Deion Sanders.
Right.
You might not get the looks of Alabama or Clemson, just yet. But the longer Dion stays there, and see, the good thing about Dion is not only is Dion a good coach, but he's also an elite NFL player, and on top of that, he's also an elite talker. So when you have that type of energy and you bring in that to the sidelines to where it's needed, if you this is why I would love to see a Ray Lewis come and coach at a different HBCU, because he also has that type of personality. Michael Irvin, go coach at one of these HBCUs. The guys that have those type of personalities where you naturally are drawn to, you want to hear these guys speak, you can really change a lot of things. And those are some of the guys that it's like, or T Sizzle, Terrell Suggs, guys like that really had that type of energy and flair off the field, in the press conferences and just out and about, how they talk, and it's like you just get gravitated. I'd love to see Randy Moss take one of these jobs. Randy Moss went to a smaller school. I mean, he didn't go to HBCU, but he went to a smaller school. I'd love to see Randy Moss get up, and go and get one of these jobs.
I think that's a phenomenal point you made, because if you think about the names you just mentioned, those are all not only great players, and in some cases we're talking legendary guys, right? Like Randy Moss is legendary, but the impact and the connection that those guys have to the culture is second to none. To this day, there are kids who never got to see Randy Moss play live, but they know who Randy Moss is, right?
Yes.
The whole segment, You Got Moss. They know who Randy Moss is.
Exactly.
They know who Ray Lewis is. So those are guys, you're 1000% correct. Those are guys that their impact, if they were to go that route right now, and I apologize if I'm leaving anybody out, the two most prominent former players that are coaching at HBCUs are Dion and Eddie George. And Eddie George was phenomenal in his own right as well. But if you're telling me that Ray Lewis is at a school, the recruitment numbers is going through the roof.
Yeah, and again, I love Eddie George, but he didn't have that type of flair,
right?
He didn't have that type. He wasn't the mouthpiece like that as like these other guys. You know, when you see guys, especially the receivers is always going to be talk crazy. Michael Irvin's Randy, you know that.
Like if you get an Ocho Cinco,
there you go, Ocho Cinco,
right?
Even a To,
right? A To. And I think T.O. did go to an HBCU. I got to look back at the school he came out of. I think he did. But no, that's a great point. Because if we start getting those guys who were not only legends on the field, but had that cultural impact, right, that you could connect with. Because to this day, all those guys you mentioned, those are people that we still connect with to this day. Even though they haven't been on the field for quite some time, we still connect with them in that way. I think that would massively turn the tables on how the recruitment goes, how the overall look of college would turn out. So that's something we got to pay attention to, man. But I am, like I said, I've already put it on record. 7 years from now, 2029, Trip, you and I are going to be rooting for the same football team because Jay's going to be the owner and Dion's going to be the head coach there. It's going to happen. We got to speak it out to the world, man.
I'm with you on that.
Let's
Tennessee Chattanooga.
Chattanooga.
Okay. Yeah, that's Big Gene went to that school as well.
Shout out to Big Gene.
Gene played ball there.
See? Let's get back to the picks. So you gave me your 401k. You got the Chargers, which aligns with my upset pick because I got the Falcons. So let me hear your upset pick for this week.
Okay, for my upset pick this week, I'm going to go with what am I going to upset this week? You know what? I'm gonna go with the Rams on the upset this week. I think the Rams beat Tampa. Tampa's been playing they both been playing really horrible. But I'm gonna go with the Rams on this one for my upset pick of the week.
I like it. It's tough to pick a true favorite in this matchup because both of them have played like trash.
The last Tampa's two Super Bowl champions too, which is crazy.
Yeah. Tampa's expected to get some guys back this week, but I'm gonna tell you why I like it because I think the Rams are a middle of the pack team, and though their record isn't great, if you look at the teams they've lost to, these are all playoff caliber teams. I mean, they lost to the 49ers twice, they lost to the Cowboys, they lost to the Bills. All those teams are going to be in the playoffs, so the Rams aren't losing to scrubs. On the flip side, I think Tampa is scrubs at this point, and that's not a knock on Tom Brady. I know, there's certain people that may not like me saying that, but Tampa's bad right now. Yeah. They're averaging, I think, only about 70 yards rushing a game. So Leonard Fournette still doesn't seem to be in game shape. Tom doesn't really have the receivers he could trust. Some of that is Chris Godwin just isn't fully healthy. He only really has Mike Evans. The offensive line is in shambles. The defense isn't as good as people thought. And then he's dealing with the personal issues.
Yeah.
Say that now. Say that again.
I said they brought Julio in and he's basically done nothing because he hasn't been on the field.
Listen, Julio's done, man. I hate to say
sad to say because one of my favorites.
Yeah, Julio's done, man. Julio, phenomenal player. He's going into the Hall of Fame on the first ballot, but he had no impact on Tennessee last year. Everyone thought he would, myself included. I thought he would be great for that team last year. He wasn't. He hasn't had any impact on Tampa. We're at the end of that, end of that career with Julio Jones. But I can't trust Tampa anymore, to be honest. We keep trying to give them the leeway because of Tom Brady, but it's not working. It's just not working. You got the Baltimore hat on last week. I don't know if I told you this. I was watching the game with my nephew last Thursday night, And there was a point in the game when Baltimore went for it on fourth down, right before the half. They were down 10-3.
Yeah.
They went for it.
Mhm.
And my nephew didn't understand it because he's like, why wouldn't you just take the 3 points? Go down 10-6. You're about to go to halftime. My nephew, shout out to my nephew Brandon, because he's highly intelligent. He knows the game. And I told him, I was like, they not stressing it because Tampa can't score. Tampa ain't gonna move the ball up and down the field on them.
Yeah.
And sure enough, what happened? I think Baltimore after that scored the next 17 points of the game and then ultimately put it away. But you know what I'm saying? Like, Tampa can't move the ball up and down the field anymore.
And they can't stop anybody.
Yeah, and they can't stop anybody. So Baltimore felt extra frisky. It's like playing somebody in Madden that can't stop you. So I'm just gonna be ultra aggressive. I'm gonna go for it on fourth down. I'm gonna do stupid things because the moment I get serious, I'm just gonna put up 21 quick points. So
it's over.
Right. So I like it. I like that pick a lot. I think the Rams will beat them. And we also can't forget too, just from the statistical standpoint of things, the Rams, I think, have beat them the last 3 times they played. The Rams beat them in the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
The Rams beat them in the regular season last year. The Rams beat them in the regular season the year before. So I think they go 4 in a row. The Rams win them there. My 401k pick of the week for this week. And just for the record, you got the Chargers as your 401k pick and the Rams as your upset pick. You also like the Bills as a 401k.
Yeah. I just didn't want to I try to add one on just because I know that's a little crazy.
Trying to be fair to the people. But I want to give you credit for it because you did say you like the Bills in that spot as well. For me, my 401k pick of the week is simple. And all people got to do is look at your hat. I got the Ravens. The Ravens are going to win on Monday night against the Saints. I think the Ravens are far better than people realize. In my opinion, there you go.
Let me get a close up on the hat.
Let them know.
Let me get the solo shot on the hat real quick, just so y'all know what's going down right there.
I got the Ravens. The Ravens are only favored by 2.5 on Monday night, but I think the Ravens are really flying under the radar, and I think there's a perfect spot for them because, in my opinion, the Ravens are the 3rd best team in the AFC.
Can I do the announcement, Eric? We didn't say it yet. So we're now welcoming one of the best linebackers in football to the Baltimore Ravens, previously of the Chicago Bears, a brother that goes by the name of Roquan Smith.
Yep.
Welcome to Baltimore, sir. We needed you. We haven't had a linebacker, anywhere close to that since Terrell Suggs retired. Well, since he left the Ravens. But we haven't had a linebacker of this caliber since, and the defense has been abysmal at points this season. He is going to change a lot of that. That one man is going to change a lot of what's been going on with that defense.
Yeah. I'm gonna say this too, and I want to take it a step further with Roquan because I think this is a move that's flying under the radar. We heard everybody kind of jump on a Miami bandwagon. Oh, they got Bradley Chubb. Now this makes him a Super Bowl contender. Roquan Smith has already been a 2-time All-Pro in his 4 years in the league. Roquan Smith led the league last year in tackles.
And he's leading the league this year in tackles.
Right. When we talk about like players fitting a certain organization, Roquan is the perfect linebacker for the Ravens. A guy who can go sideline to sideline, who could cover running backs out the backfield, who can cover tight ends, but then can also be the leader of a defense. He can do all those things. The Baltimore Ravens are going to love this guy there. But the reason I really like them this week is I think the Baltimore Ravens are flying under the radar a little bit. And I think it's a little disrespectful at this point because everyone is so high on Buffalo. I love Buffalo. I talked about it earlier. Everyone's high on Kansas City. I love Kansas City. I think Patrick Mahomes is having his best year since 2018. But the Ravens right now are 5-3, and you could make a legitimate case that they should have won all 3 of them games. They was up double-digit points on Buffalo. They was up double-digit points on Miami. They was up double-digit points on the Giants. Those are their 3 losses. Oh, by the way, think about the teams I just said to you, right? Miami's undefeated with Tua. Baltimore was up big on them. The Bills only got 1 loss on the season. Baltimore was up big on them. The Giants are 6-2. Baltimore was up big on them. The Baltimore Ravens, you could make a legitimate case that if not for 1 quarter in each of those games, the Baltimore Ravens would also be undefeated on the season. And in each of those instances, they lost them games because the defense kind of fell apart late. And back to your point, that's where Roquan Smith comes in. Now you add a guy who can be a defensive leader, who can give you more versatility on your defense and help you plug up some of them holes. I love the move. Now, I don't want to get into the contract part of it because I know Roquan does need a new contract after this year, and there are going to be
Yeah.
some people that are going to say, "Well, how are you going to pay Roquan? You still got to take care of Lamar, all that good stuff." But for this week and for the rest of this season, I'm putting it out there right now. I think the Ravens are the third best team in the AFC, and I think the Ravens now are about to start to peak, and people are going to circle back and be like, "Wait a minute, watch the team in Baltimore." Because I really think, again, 5-3 does not do it justice. This team is
Yeah.
really, really good. And if not for 3 quarters, that's all it's been. It was a fourth quarter against the Dolphins. It was a fourth quarter against Buffalo. It was a fourth quarter against the Giants. If
Yeah.
not for those 3 quarters, we're talking about a team that is 8-0, and Lamar would be one of the top guys we're talking about for MVP in the league. I love the Ravens as my 401k pick of the week. I think 2.5 points is a disrespect to the Baltimore Ravens because they are far better than the Saints, and they're going to
Yeah.
demolish the Saints on Monday night. I'm going to say it like this. They're going to beat them by 17 on Monday night.
Listen, I would not be surprised if that happens. One thing that you said that I really loved is that they haven't had a defensive leader on that team. And here's the thing, usually your defensive leaders are your linebackers. Particularly a middle linebacker. We know they've had one of the best, if not the best, middle linebacker in the history of the NFL with Ray Lewis there for the entirety of his career. So now when you add a guy like Roquan Smith who can be that leader, your anchor on the defensive end, I think that kind of sets the tone for everybody else. You still have, because you have two all-pro corners in Marcus Peters and Marlon Humphreys. The line is good, but they're going to be that much better with a guy like Roquan Smith who can play the run, who can play the pass. He's a fast line. Like he's one of those guys that can get across the field. He can do a lot out there on the defensive side of the football. He can get to your quarterback. Again, he's leading the league in tackles. You said he was leading the league in tackles last season. So is a guy that knows how to make stops. So, and you add him in, yeah. If Roquan Smith is on this team from the beginning of the season, I think maybe there's a good chance they are undefeated right now.
I'm just going to listen. Make note of it. We're going into week 9 right now, right? As of right now, they're allowing 23 points a game. Not terrible. Their biggest issue is they give up a lot in the passing game. They're giving up less than 100 yards a game rushing. They're giving up 97 yards rushing, but they're giving up 285 passing. I guarantee you, as of right now, going into the Saints game right now, they're giving up 383 yards a game defensively. Watch that number drastically drop over the next few weeks because of the impact of Roquan Smith and, again, his versatility. He can take running backs out of the game. He can cover backs out of the backfield. He can patrol and cover tight ends over the middle of the field. This defense is going to be far greater now with him and with Patrick Queen, another guy we really like as well.
Together, I think they're going to be a problem.
Right. I'm telling you, man, I don't understand. To me, when I saw this line, this is the first line that jumped out at me. I'm like, that's massively disrespectful. There's no way you're telling me that Andy Dalton and a Saints team that's banged up because Mike Thomas is out for the year. Chris Olave is questionable for this game.
I don't think Landry's going to play again either. He's been out for the most part this season.
Right. So you're banged up at wide receiver all the way around. To me, and you're right, Landry's questionable for this game as well. I don't think the Saints should be within a field goal of the Ravens.
Yeah.
I think the Ravens are far greater. I think this line should have been higher, but I'll take it. I like the Ravens to win this one easily.
Yeah. I'm gonna definitely, because my other fantasy league got picked up Taysom Hill. I'm definitely gonna play him this week because they ain't got nobody else. He's the only person they got left with all these guys out, so he got to get some points for me.
Yeah, he'll get red zone touches, and they'll probably put about 7 to 10 plays in a playbook for him to throw the ball as well. But yeah, there's no way I can trust Andy Dalton in this situation because I just think the Ravens are far better. And again, I think too many times people look at the schedule. I looked at the record, and be like, oh, that team is 5-3. That's okay. But you got to watch the games.
Yeah.
The Ravens were dominating the Dolphins. They should have never lost that game.
Yeah.
The Ravens were dominating the Buffalo Bills. They should have never lost that game.
Yeah.
The Ravens were up 10 points on the Giants going into the fourth quarter. They were not supposed to lose that game.
Yeah.
I think we've reached a point where the Ravens know who they are and they realize, look, we had some lapses. We lost focus. But when we're sharp, we've already shown that we can be up big on the best teams in this league.
Yeah.
The Ravens are really, really good. Again, I think to me, I think they're the third best team in the AFC. I really think they're right. They're not on that level with Buffalo and Kansas City, but they're
No, because
just
they
beneath it.
they don't have a receiver.
Not only that, I just think that with the Ravens is more methodical. They don't have the explosiveness that
Yes.
Buffalo and Kansas, because when you're watching Buffalo, that thing could flip quick. Kansas
Yeah.
City
So
could
it's a
flip
light
quick.
switch. Light switch.
Right. Kansas City could put 13 points up on you in 5 minutes. Like it just flipped right away. Baltimore's a little more methodical. They got to go down the field. They got to get in a rhythm. But then when they get in a rhythm and Lamar starts moving around and doing his thing, it looks beautiful. And that's what happened in the second half against Tampa last week. They were down 10-3 at the half. They end up scoring 24 points in the second half of that game.
Now, if you're Baltimore and you just brought over Roquan Smith, do you go make a real serious push, when Odell's ready to come back?
I think you at least have the conversation. I don't want to say you have a serious conversation. I don't want to say you go all in on it, but you have at least you call him, you kick the tires.
See how he feels about it.
Right. What are you looking for? Are you interested? Because for the Ravens, you still want a receiver that's going to be willing to block, and he's got to be a team player. Not to say Odell isn't, but Odell is a traditional wide receiver. He's going to want to be able to run his routes and get targets and get down the field. And maybe the Baltimore situation isn't best for him, but they're going to get Perriman back soon. I really love Duvernay this year. I think Duvernay has been very underrated for what he's done for the Ravens this year. I think the running game has been a bigger issue because J.K. Dobbins hasn't. I know he's hurt again, but he hasn't gotten to that point we thought he was going to get to.
Because he can't stay healthy. You know how it is. You got to get them consecutive weeks in to really get your sea legs back. He hasn't been able to stay on the field long enough to do that. Now he's supposed to come back I want to say like 3 weeks, 4 weeks. But he's got to stay healthy so that he can start to build those performances up. Like that's the only thing that's going to really get you back to where you were before you got hurt is you have to be able to stay on the field.
Yeah. I mean, they might be a little thin at running back this week. Obviously, J.K. is on the IR. Gus Edwards is questionable. We'll have to see on that. But I mean, yeah, if Odell's willing to come in and buy in and understand that, hey, I may be a little bit more of a run blocker than a traditional receiver, then so be it. I think Odell is a guy who's going to shift the power in either conference wherever he signs.
Yeah,
we've talked about this on the Sunday show on Real Fans Real Talk. Again, for the people that are tuning in, if don't just tune into the Friday Night Live. We do a show on Sunday, Real Fans Real Talk. We get into all the sports. We don't just do NBA, NFL. We got boxing, we got baseball over there as well. I'm sure you guys are going to enjoy it. But we talked about it over there where I think Odell can shift it because we know he wants to go to a Super Bowl contender. And obviously that's your Buffalo, that's your Kansas City. But I think you got that next tier teams like Dallas, like Baltimore,
the Giants.
You know what I'm saying? Right, Giants. And there's already been talks that the Giants have said they reached out to his agent just to kind of kick the tires and see if would he be interested in coming back. Yes. You got teams like I don't think he would, but you got Miami on that type of level.
Yeah, well, yeah, because Miami they already got Waddle and Tyreek Hill, so it's like that I could see the problems coming because there's just not enough footballs.
It's not enough footballs, right? But I think again Odell can shift the power of any conference, similar to how we talked about the Niners in the past about now they got McCaffrey. That's what Odell can do because if he goes to Dallas, now that conversation becomes completely different about Dallas. That's an elite defense, and now you put him with CeeDee Lamb with that running game. Now you're talking about a really good team that's in the same conversation as Philly and 49ers. So I think Baltimore should definitely call him though. Baltimore should definitely try to see and engage his interest.
Listen, we just got Roquan Smith. It's lit. Pull up on me.
It's lit in the city. It's lit.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? I think that only thing I say about the Ravens, I'm a little surprised, and though I love the Roquan move, I wonder if they could have got Chase Claypool for the same price that the Bears got him for.
Here's the thing. And this is why I'm going to say no. Just because it's a division rival, and the Ravens and the Steelers hate each other, so I can't see the Steelers doing anything to help the Baltimore Ravens, especially when you're talking about one of the areas that they've been lacking in the most, to give them a young wide receiver. Even if you're getting, I don't know what they get from. Was it a third round pick?
Now for Chase,
Yeah, what they get for Chase? A second?
not a second.
Okay, so even if it's a second round pick, it's like, yeah, we don't even know how that second round pick is going to turn out, but we about to give you a wide receiver that can possibly help get you over the hump to a Super Bowl. Nah, we're not going to do that. So I can't see. I couldn't see them doing that.
So I wanted to bring this up to you because I heard a crazy conversation that was kind of going on behind the scenes. I heard that the Ravens were in serious negotiations for TJ Hawkinson before he ended up with the Vikings.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't mind that move actually, but I still want a wide receiver though, because we already got Mark Andrews, and the young kid was Isaiah Likely, I think it
Isaiah
is.
Likely, who had the touchdown on the Thursday
Yeah,
night game last week.
I like him, but I mean, again, we don't have wide receivers, so another top tier tight end would be a nice little boost for us, since we know Lamar Jackson loves going to his tight ends.
So from what I heard, they were in serious conversations, and then when I kind of deep dive, it made sense. Um, they wanted to go more with the two tight end set, and that's where Hawkinson would have fit in perfectly because
Mhm.
him and Andrews are both really good blocking tight ends as well as pass catching tight ends.
Yes.
But when I thought about it, Greg Roman as their offensive coordinator, there was a point in San Fran where he had Vernon Davis and oh man, now his name slips me. The tight end that was with the Titans
Um.
a couple years ago.
Oh, jeez. A couple years ago. I gotta look
Yeah,
it up.
now you gonna make now I gotta look it up. But ultimately their thinking was we're gonna go with this two tight end set and kind of go with this whole deception of running the ball as well as being able to pass out of these formations with the two tight ends. And I liked it. And if they could have made it work, I think it's
Wait, you
great.
talking about Delaney Walker?
Delanie Walker, yep.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. Because he used to be the backup tight end for Vernon Davis in San Fran.
Yeah. He's
And
actually
so
he was pretty good too.
very good pass catching tight end, blocking tight end. He had a successful career with the Titans. Obviously, he was in the shadow of Vernon Davis in San Fran, but when he went to Tennessee, he was the main guy. I think that's what Baltimore was thinking about doing, but I guess maybe the price tag was a little too high for them.
Yeah.
But if they could have completed that, I would have liked it because it would have fit their scheme. You ultimately want to run the ball first and then set up play action and go down the field from there. So having two tight ends that could block and catch. I mean, we saw the Patriots, how successful they were able to do it with Gronk and Hernandez. You could do something similar to that. But ultimately, I think you and I both agree. We love the Ravens not only this week, but I think they are going to continue to be better as the season goes on.
Facts, absolutely.
Amen. Tonight's episode, again, Friday Night Live, every Friday, 9 p.m. We appreciate you guys tuning in, sending your questions, sending your comments. Tune in this Sunday over on Real Fans Real Talk, 7 p.m. We're going to give our reactions to week 9. We're going to give our reactions to the World Series because I think Saturday night's the last game of the World Series. That's just my thoughts. There's going to be some boxing for us to get into. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of NBA stuff to talk about come Sunday night, but we're going to get into all that. So make sure you guys subscribe and tune in on Sunday night, Real Fans Real Talk YouTube page, because we're going to be over there on Sunday night. Trip, before we wrap up, my brother, any final thoughts?
Oh man, I mean, I'm just happy. I got the hat on this week, so I'm just excited about that. I'm really looking forward to football this weekend because I really want to see the difference. I do agree with you. I do think we see. What you said was 380 the per game they're giving up total yards per game. You said it was 380.
383. Yep.
383. Right. I do think that number comes down significantly this week, and I think it starts to come down a little bit more week by week.
I agree. That's the Monday night game, but I love the Ravens this week. I think this is a spot, again, where people are focusing more on their actual record as opposed to the talent.
Yeah.
This Ravens team is pretty good, man. And This is a great spot for them because I think they're flying under the radar because everyone is so focused on Buffalo and Kansas City. I think the Ravens are the next team beneath those two, and the Ravens are really, really good. So I'm definitely going to be paying attention to that. I look forward to seeing everyone Sunday night.
Facts.
But I also want to end off the show the way we've been ending off, the way at least I know I've been saying every end of every episode. Free Brittany Griner, man. Bring her home.
Yes.
Let's cut out the nonsense, man. Enough is enough. Enough is enough, man. Bring her home. I don't want it to kind of fall by the wayside. I noticed that it's not a headline. It's not a trending topic anymore. This ain't about trending topics. This ain't about clicks, likes, none of that. What's right is right. Bring her home, bro. Enough is enough, man. But for my brother Trip Young, shout out to Will Gordon. He's going to be with us next week. I am Eric Sanchez. This is Friday Night Live with the Opinionated Ones. And we'll see you guys Sunday night, 7 p.m. Tune in, man. We out of here.
Yes, sir. Peace.